welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Nonprofit Show. One of our faves is back with us, Christine Chacko. Hey, I love that background.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
It looks really great. Who says people in accounting and finance can't be creative, huh?
That's right. I love color. I mean, anything colorful.
I love it too. I love it too. Well, we're not talking about color unless you think about AI being colorful, and it definitely is a big part of the discussion across the landscape in the nonprofit sector. And Christine Chacko is going to be talking to us today about this issue and how can we do more with less using AI. And so this is a big question, Christine, that everybody's kind of stumbling around trying to figure out where we need to be. And I think this is really timely. So I'm so appreciative that you're here with us today to talk about this. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, everybody, it's a lot of fun is every day I get to thank our presenting sponsors, and they include Bloomerang, American Nonprofit Academy, Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, Your Part-Time Controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. I'm Julia C. Patrick, CEO of the American Nonprofit Academy. And today, as I mentioned in the intro, here today with Christine Chacko, she is the Technology Associate of Your Part-Time Controller. I was mentioning in the green room, Christine, that I think a lot of times, we think, oh, Your Part-Time Controller. It's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accountants and CPAs and bookkeepers.
Yeah.
But maybe not so true, right? What is it that you do?
Well, I actually am an accountant and a CPA, and I have a lot of experience with that, but I am also a very tech-focused accountant. So a lot of my job is kind of helping some of our associates and some of our clients to find solutions to problems that they have that technology can kind of help solve. We help with app integrations, we help with accounting system conversions, we help with even just very something you might not think of as tech focused, but chart of accounts redesigns, thinking through their dimensions in their accounting systems, all sorts of things that really help set the foundation for great financials and great accounting work.
I love it because you can't do one without the other. And how magical is it that you have somebody like yourself that's educated in the financial side and then has that amazing ability to integrate technology, and dare I say a time when technology is changing every 24 hours. That's really cool and super magical for so many organizations, and just the mindset of where we need to be rowing towards. So let's get into it because I have a ton of questions. And the first question I want to propose to you and really have you help me understand is, what is the difference between AI, artificial intelligence, and automation? Because I feel like we're using these two terms at the same time, but they're pretty different, aren't they?
Yeah, so they are different, but at the same time, AI is actually a form of automation. So I'm going to try to simplify it, but not oversimplify it. Automation is really ways that we write rules for computers or computers write rules for themselves to perform more repetitive, consistent tasks, things in very narrow contexts, with more simple situations, such as help me classify all of these expenses using just the vendor name. That's something that automation would normally be able to help us do. But AI is still, it's computers writing rules for themselves, but very complex ways to help solve more vague, inconsistent, open-ended problems, like tasks that require a little more thought, a little more analysis, can you help me compare our these 4 lines of expenditures to what others in our industry are spending? What does that look like? How can we implement cost savings and things like that? So AI can really do so much more than traditional automation can do. We really like to think of it as a thought partner and kind of use it in ways that you might bounce ideas off of a person too.
I love that you said thought partner, because the moment you said that, I was thinking about myself. And I gotta say, I think that that's how I think of it, chat GPTs to be specific, that I'll pop in something and then it gives me kind of a sector lens. And, most of the time I agree and I'll be like, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Or it articulates things in a more concise manner. And yeah, so that's cool. That's a great way to think of it. Not without its perils, not without the ability to recognize when it's hallucinating or when maybe you don't agree.
That's always possible. Yep.
Yeah, really, really interesting. Okay, so now that we understand more specifically how we can use these two aspects of technology, and how they're the same but how they're different, how can we start using this now? And maybe I should back up. Should we start using this now?
I mean, use it when you think it will be useful, and when you think it will be worth it, for sure. There are lots of opportunities to kind of use AI hand in hand with more traditional automation, where you maybe use automation to write and run some of your simpler rules, like say I have a bunch of donor data. I want to sum that all up by category, like individual, corporate, foundation, all of that. But then I also want some help with interpreting and analyzing, benchmarking some of that data. I might ask AI to help tell me how have our different categories changed year over year? Are there seasonal trends? Have you seen like significant changes, post-pandemic? How do we see a lot of our donors engaging in other ways with our organization? Stuff like that is really like the thought partner kind of stuff that AI can help with. And it's also, it's really good at helping with draft communication, such as like draft grant narratives. Like you might be able to say, hey, we're applying for a grant to these specific funders. Can you help me pull some of their preferences, some of their backgrounds, and help me write a narrative that will really appeal to them? It's great at like kind of doing that background work and then synthesizing it into really professional and well-worded kind of executive summaries and narratives like that.
Yeah. I think that is amazing. And I love that you brought that up, because I think that's one of those things that somebody who's not familiar with this technology and hasn't even shifted their mindset will be like, what? You can do that? Because I don't know about you, Christine. I mean, I'm a writer by trade, and so I love to write, but I'll put something in, and a lot of times it'll spit out something that I think is far superior than what I would have crafted in certainly a short amount of time. And so sometimes it's a little humbling, but it's really powerful to, God, I keep thinking about your phrase, thought partner. I mean, getting something, engaging in where we're going and getting that feedback, right?
Yeah. And it is like, it's great at taking something you've already written or just taking a bunch of ideas and formulating that into some kind of written form that you actually end up really liking. I tend to be very verbose when I write, and it's really good at getting the actual essential ideas that I want to communicate and, formatting that into something actually super concise that somebody can read and understand quickly. It's also great at things like, I can see that my cash is changing month over month, but I can't really understand why it's changing so much. And if you give AI, like if it has access to your accounting system or your reporting or data like that, it can actually help you dig into things like that. It can help you dig into like reconciliation variances. It can help you really dig into any data that you're like trying to look for help analyzing or like communicating a specific message to the board. It's really good at creating that kind of content.
Okay, so along those lines, I'm going to ask you to put up your catcher's mitt because it is September baseball, my favorite time of the year.
Yep.
And this is a curveball. How safe is this process, right? So, for example, we're uploading or we're giving AI access to pretty sensitive information.
Mm-hmm.
How is that going to impact us?
Yeah, so what I say is, and what we all say at YPTC is just read the fine print, know what you're opting into and what you're opting out of, like when you're using specific AI models and AI products. And also like know that sometimes like if you're using AI within your accounting system, like the AI built into it, or you're using like a company approved AI model, that may already be in a secure environment. So just make sure you're aware of the policies and procedures around those kinds of things.
I love that you said that because I hadn't really thought about where we would navigate to get that confidence in using and sharing information. And the reason why I brought that up, because you mentioned you can query what is an industry standard or best practice, or what are some other numbers, in the sector, and those numbers are coming from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not just made up. Well, sometimes it is. We use the term hallucinating when AI goes off the board for 20 and they kind of put something up that it might not be researched properly, but very interesting.
Yeah. And that's actually, I think, a great segue into some of the things maybe that folks should be aware of when they're using AI. For instance, hallucination. So that is something that you kind of see when you ask AI a question and it comes back with like an answer that you don't necessarily agree with, but you're also not sure, like, should I question it? Is this right? Is this wrong? I don't know. Or maybe it's something that's completely wrong. But the newer AI models, the reasoning AI, have a lot more capacity to like go back and re-query their knowledge until they actually come up with something that they think is a really solid answer for you. So we're starting to not see hallucination as much, but it is definitely something to be aware of. I'm sorry if I jumped the gun there a little bit.
No. I mean, I think this is like such an interesting thing because I think a lot of times, Christine, we can have this conversation about, oh my gosh, it's going to solve everything. And it's going to just be that thing that gets me through my day with so much ease. And then we're not thinking about, okay, what are some of these issues that we might need to address? I want to bounce back based on this. And I hate to use the word risk, but risk aversion. Are you advocating that when we are working with certain platforms or software systems, that maybe we use their internal, AI function? I kind of heard you say that a little bit. When you look at all these products and they have like, oh yeah, we have our own, generative AI piece. Is that where you think it's safer to go?
I mean, it probably depends on the product, really. I just say, like, one, I'm not giving any like legal advice or like advocating for any specific product for sure, but really just like know what you are signing up for, like know what you're using. And a lot of these products that are starting to come out, like they're adding new disclaimers into their privacy policies, into their data policies, and their security policies. So if you're concerned about that, definitely read through it before you start using it, because they can they can come with some risks as far as privacy and security, especially if you're using what we call agentic AI, and that's where like you're giving AI the ability to go out and like search the web or interact with your Outlook or interact with another program in order to help you get something done. And in that case, like it's opening up to another software, to another service. And you just want to make sure that everything that you're communicating to, all the data that you're giving it, is still being used in a secure way before you do that.
Okay, you used some vocabulary that I'm not familiar with, and you used the word agentic. Is that like the word agent in it?
Yes, yeah, exactly. And so we're seeing some exactly some new products come out that are like AI agents, and they can be slightly different. But when we talk about agentic AI, the difference between that and like generative AI or reasoning AI, agentic AI is really like going out to another software or to a programming language or using a calculator or using the web or something like that in order to get you the answers that you're needing, or the task that you want to do, like draft me an email to these people and send it out tomorrow at 9 a.m. In order to do that, an AI has to be given access to your email program, and that would be an example of agentic AI if it can do that. If you have regular generative or reasoning AI, everything that it's doing is contained within its own model. So maybe if you ask it like, hey, can you tell me what the weather was yesterday? And it doesn't have access to the web and its knowledge wasn't updated recently, it might not be able to actually give you an answer.
Yeah. I love that example, because that's smart. I mean, you can understand when the way you frame that as to what we should be thinking about. Again, it's not just this behind the curtains kind of thing. You got to be thinking about what these systems are doing and how they're changing. I keep reading about how the world of AI is changing basically every 72 hours. The, the vast amount of data and access to things is literally just blooming. And so we still don't really have a handle on it as much. But I love the way you just educated us on these aspects of the agentic versus the generative. That's riveting to me, because I was working with a very large organization about 6 months ago, and I've been thinking about them and our conversation coming up. And a chunk of their team wanted to install Chat GPT on their systems, and their tech person, who's a contractor, so he's not there all the time, said absolutely not. It's not safe until we figure out, how it's going to integrate with everything. And so what happened at this organization, the people started bringing in their own laptops and using it, and then basically cutting and pasting over, and it was like a workaround, but it was like, whoa, we've missed the point.
Yeah.
Breaks, and it's an organization that has a lot of sensitive data.
Yeah.
And I got to thinking throughout this conversation, I was dying to ask you this question, how risky is that? Because I feel like nobody really knows how to check on what the potential problems are, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And some of like how the different AI models use your data, some of that is in their policies and in all of that, pages and pages of fine print. There are definitely AI models that explicitly say like, we'll use your data to help train future models. So, in those cases, you definitely don't want to be sharing sensitive data. So yeah, again, I'll just say be careful what you're opting in to and how you're using it. Um, I will also say, like in terms of being able to rely on what comes out of the AI, like what it's producing for you, sometimes AI can be too creative, and it's not even just hallucination. It's just like maybe it's giving you something that you really need to review, and maybe if you're writing a grant narrative, for instance, and you're giving it a lot of internal documentation, maybe there's some of that you don't want to share in your narrative with external funders and stuff like that. So I recommend always reviewing and giving the AI strict parameters, strictly monitoring what's being produced, so that you can actually rely on what you're using.
Yeah, I love that you said that, because that's with anything, with any type of editing. First, you never just copy and paste. You've got to be thoughtful and realize, is this my voice? Is this the voice of my organization? Is this accurate? Hello, number one.
Yeah.
But is this like really what we want to say and how we want to portray ourselves? Because on some of these things, there's no going back. If you put down something in a grant application to follow along with your your example, you are essentially going to be entering into a contract for that funding. I mean, this is like a pretty heavy duty thing. You've got to be really thoughtful about this.
Yeah. You don't want the AI like taking in some of your information and saying, okay, with this funding, we have the capacity to launch 4 new programs.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, I feel like that's something nobody would let go without reviewing, but just as worth saying, review everything.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, we don't have much time, and we were chatting in the green room. You were like, we could spend hours and days on this, just not 30 minutes. But I already got you to put up your catcher's mitt with that curveball that we threw at you. But now I'm going to kind of actually extend that a little bit and have you get out the crystal ball. And that is, what is this AI landscape going to look like? And I put down several months, not several years, not next season, not next quarter, just in terms of months, because it's going so fast. What do you think is going to happen?
I mean, I honestly think like it's difficult to predict a lot of things right now, what they'll look like in several months. But I can tell you, like, some of the things that we're seeing now, and we're seeing a lot of growth in, is agentic AI being incorporated into more workflows, more processes, more everyday activities. You're seeing it start to pop up in the worlds of finance and IT, software development, customer support, and client service. We're just going to see probably more and more of that, and it's not only getting more available, but more accessible for everyday users and everyday purposes. And in some ways, it's starting to become more essential. Actually was just chatting with somebody from your show who said, I don't know what we'd do without AI.
Yeah, I think you're talking about our executive producer, Kevin Pace, if I'm not mistaken, before. And yeah, absolutely. I would say Kevin on our team is the one that led through this first, because he does automation. I mean, he does things in the scope of our work, right, to produce a show. We've done 1,400 episodes. We're in our 6th year. Where we started is not where we are now. We're so much better. But a lot of this has to do with the adoption of AI and automation. And so he's brought that forward to us for sure. And it's really interesting. It's absolutely fascinating. Oh, I love it. He gave himself with a hand clap for those of you who are watching with us. That's hilarious. He controls that, by the way. I do not. But yeah, good job, Kevin, to give yourself a little pat on the back. But yeah, I think it's really interesting that you brought that up, Christine. And I think it's fascinating to have some of this new nomenclature and mindset being discussed, because we're leaning into this, yet it's somewhat perilous for a lot of organizations, right? They don't know how to use it. They don't know when to use it. And then we have the sense of that it's going to solve all of our problems and we won't need to make any type of investment.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I think people often think that about any technology. They're like, if we implement this brand new accounting system, or we implement this like third-party integration with a bill pay software, that's going to solve all of our problems. And honestly, like with AI, with any technology, it's never going to solve all of your problems. You also have to make sure that you're communicating really well about like what the risks are, what the proper processes are, what the use cases are, and that you're really bringing people along, and that you're being open to questions, being open to changes, being open to different ways of doing things, but that you also have like your currently ingrained internal controls and processes and procedures really solid. A lot of that, which involves communication within your department and within your teams and organization.
I loved that you said that, because it seems to me that when you open your brain and your mind and your heart and your wallet for this, it's going to leak out into other areas, right? It's going to probably not just be that really narrow focus of what we're talking about, AI and automation, but it's going to impact the way you think about your work. I've got to believe. I mean, I know it has for me. Just speaking on, in terms of my own workaday world, which, like anybody else, it's really frenetic. And I never leave my office at the end of the day thinking, whew, I got through it all. My task list is never finished, right? And that stress is debilitating. So
Yeah.
how we start to think about our work and our work processes, I feel, Christine, that's what's going to save us.
Yeah, I mean, like AI is one thing it's really good at is making tedious tasks that don't necessarily take a lot of effort, but take a lot of time. Or maybe they do. Maybe they drain us mentally and emotionally. It makes those really simple. Like creating transcripts, taking meeting notes, drafting emails, even thinking through like, hey, I have to communicate this really difficult topic, or this, really difficult feedback to somebody. How should I approach that? It's really good at either doing those kinds of like compositions for you, or helping you think through stuff like that, which definitely can be a stress reliever.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you have been marvelous, Christine Chacko. She is I'm coming back as you, sister. Your brain is amazing. I mean, I'm just like, I would be so ahead of the game if I had your mind, right? Because it's so cool to hear you speak, and you're so good at educating us and really helping us. And that's why you're the technology associate at your part-time controller. I also love that you have that finance background, and as a CPA and you numbers girl, you can then twist everything together with what's going on with technology, and that is so powerful, so powerful.
Yeah.
You can learn more about Christine and her team at yptc.com. Before I let you go today, Christine, I want to really quickly talk about an exciting thing that we're doing in partnership with YPTC, your part-time controller. We're hosting Nonprofit Power Week. We only do this a couple times a year. It's very limited because it's a full week. It's a full takeover of topics that all weave together. And if you're a friend of the Nonprofit Show, one day we might be talking about HR, the next day about, fraud, the day after that, marketing, whatever. It's always jumping around. But this is a dedicated week. First off, we're going to kick off with what's going on with the federal grant system and the federal grant processes that the government is dealing with. We're going to be talking about scenario planning and how you can kind of preempt some decisions that you might have to make based on a change. We're going to be talking about data hygiene. No, this is not middle school health class. This is similar, but it's about garbage in, garbage out. And what do we look at when we have all this data? And then we're going to be talking about fraud. And this is always one of those heartbreaking things because we think, who would perpetrate fraud against a nonprofit? But it's rampant. And then we're going to finish up with Ask and Answered with our co-host now, Ellie Hume. She is one of the directors over at YPTC as well. And that's going to be really fun. It's kind of like a wrap up of questions for the week. So that's happening here in September. Don't miss it. It's really going to be a great opportunity to drill down on so many important topics. And who better to ask than our friends over at YPTC? Before we go, I also want to make sure that we extend our gratitude to our amazing presenting sponsors. Staffing Boutique, Holdings Nonprofit Banking, Interim Executives Academy, of course, our friends at YPTC, your part-time controller, Fundraisers Friday, and JMT Consulting. Christine, we end each and every episode with this mantra, and it goes like this: to stay well so you can do well. Thanks so much, everyone.